Welcome to part 3 of the conversation that we've been having with Willow B. This conversation was inspired by the conversation that we've been having about the Telepathy Tapes podcast by Kai Dickens. And in this next episode, Willow is sharing with us a dream where she visits a Buddhist Lama and receives the energetic transmission of Shaktipat into her energetic field, and then has the experience of divine bliss running through her body for 20 days after the dream. So it's a great conversation. I love this conversation. And we want to invite more conversations like this. So if you have stories to tell, please reach out. And we look forward to hearing from you. Listen in. You're going to love this. Did you want to share another story?
Yeah, so when you were talking about activating the light body and working with the chakras and breath work to do that, that relates exactly to this experience that I had in 1996. The first one that sort of opened me up to like, hey, maybe this metaphysical, spiritual stuff is real. Because I had done yoga before. I had been told by people like back when I was 19, 20, living in the East Village, New York City, like protect yourself, imagine a white bubble of light around you. And I remember doing that and it felt great. I knew there was something to it, but I was also, well, is this my imagination or not? But then sometimes you have these real experiences that just confirm for you there is far more to heaven and earth than we have realized. So in 1996, I had a powerful, I guess you could call it a Kundalini awakening, except that it didn't really come from me. It was given to me, and it was in a dream, but it was unlike any dream I'd ever had. And again, it brought in stuff that I was vaguely familiar with, very vaguely, but really didn't know much about. Way in the dream, I'm walking along the beach with a guy with long dark hair, but I never see his face. And we're walking, and it's nighttime, and I'm like looking at houses along the beach. Not that one, not that one, not that one. I said, we get to the end of the line where the breakwater of rocks goes out into the ocean, and there's a little house with like orange curtains in the window, like Hindu prayer cloths, little Sanskrit symbols on them. I go, that one. And so we walk up the steps and we see there's an entryway with shoes everywhere, lots and lots of shoes. So we take off our shoes and we knock on the door and someone lets us in. And there's a whole group of people sitting on the floor and a platform at the end of the room. And there's a Tibetan Rinpoche, like Tulku Lama, and he's sitting there and he's chanting. And everyone in the room is chanting and they've got little drums and bells. I didn't know about that stuff before, but I had the word come into my head, Lama. So then they take us and they put us on the platform with the Lama. And for people who don't know, Lama is a word that means monk in Tibetan Buddhism. They're also
I did not know
sometimes
that.
called, if they're reincarnated lamas, they're called Rinpoche, or, well, Rinpoche means like venerable teacher. You don't have to be reincarnated to become a Rinpoche. But a Tulku is a reincarnated one. God bless you. So anyway, they have us go and sit on either side of this Lama, and the chanting is increasing, and I'm facing him, and the other person I came in with is facing the Lama, and he's in the middle of us, and I am aware that he can see that person and me and the crowd at the same time. His face is facing all directions. And later on, I did learn that there are many Buddhist statues of Buddhas and other Buddhist beings that do that. They have a face in each direction.
Yeah, that's cool.
Only he wasn't a statue. He was a real live Lama in a dream.
Yeah.
And the the chanting grew in intensity, and I saw waves of light coming off of the Lama and coming off of the crowd and intermingling. And it became so intense. And then I felt the Lama's majority of attention switch to the person I came in with, whose face I couldn't see because the Lama was in between us blocking. And I knew that some sort of energetic transmission was happening. And then it came to me, and his energy came to me. And a beam of light came from him to my lowest chakra, red, like about body size beam of light, and filled there. And then the next one, the orange one, and then the golden. So beams of light with the colors corresponding to the chakras started going through each of my chakras, just like
Love
making
it.
its way up. And I felt a profound reorganization of all the cells in my body taking place as that was happening. And it was a feeling of bliss, just sublime bliss, like health beyond health, that the health, no pain, no, just
Yeah.
pure bliss and health. And when the light came up to my solar plexus and then to my heart, it became overwhelming. I couldn't keep my consciousness. And then it continued up and I lost consciousness. I'm in a dream. And I fell backwards and I felt hands helping me down so that I wouldn't just fall and hurt myself. And then I was in a black void. And then, after a long time, I became aware that I was in a white void. And it was like white mist everywhere, filled with light. And it was like floating in ambrosia, just pure bliss. Every single cell of my body absolutely renewed. But actually, at this point, I didn't even notice a body. And I was aware that I had been floating there for a very long time, just floating in bliss. And because I was aware, I became aware that I was aware. And then I started to be aware of sort of a light body. Now, I wasn't in my physical body, but just sort of the shape of a body floating there. And then I woke up into the dream, back in the room.
Wow.
And every,
Wow, that's elaborate, right?
yes, and most of the people were gone. And there were just a few people like sweeping up rice from the floor. I didn't know that they throw rice at Buddhist ceremonies. I didn't know that. It's at the apex of the ceremony, they throw rice and flower petals and holy water, like spritzes of it.
Yeah, I didn't know that either.
And so I found out later because the stream made me go live in Nepal. And I lived there for 11 years, immersing myself in the culture and Buddhism and
How
stuff.
cool is that? Yeah.
But anyway, I woke up to that room and a few people cleaning up, and one lady with a beautiful face, maybe around 50, um, tending to some pictures of the Lama and putting flowers. So I got up and I walked over to her and I said, "Oh, wait, no, I just messed up. Backtrack." I woke up and the people were cleaning up. And I looked around and I said, what happened? And they came over to me smiling and I said, "Oh, don't worry. It was just a word that I didn't know, but I sounded like Shaktipat, which when I tried to describe it to a friend who knew about these things, she said, "Oh, that sounds like Shaktipat. That's when you get a transmission of energy from like a guru
Mhm.
that does what it did to you, that wakens your Kundalini."
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, right. And then the scene shifted, and I'm walking in daylight back into the house, and there's a woman in the corner arranging flowers by a picture of the Lama. And I walk up to her and I say, "Where's the Lama?" She looks at me and she goes, "Oh, don't you know? He's no longer with us." And then I woke up to the morning, to 3D life, and felt this bliss in my body and was like, whoa, that was incredible. That was not like a dream. That
Yeah.
was, and I felt this bliss for 20 days. And I had no desire for food. I didn't eat.
It's
I just
incredible. I have
just
chills all
drank.
over my body right now. Yeah.
Yeah, I just drank and I was full of energy. Just drank water and I was dancing around. I remember I hadn't danced ballet since I was 14. I took out some toe shoes and I was like dancing around the hallways in my toe shoes. And, I wasn't having some sort of psychotic episode.
Right.
I was just very full of life and energy, and I was fully aware of everything going on around me. And nothing like that had ever happened before, and nothing ever happened like that again until this thing in 2019. Um, so after about 20 days of this, I was living on a campus for teacher training, for Waldorf teacher training, and some of the people, my friends, were kind of like, "We're starting to get worried about you. We want you to eat." And I'm a person who eats. I've always been plump, so it's not like I was trying to starve myself or anything. I just literally had no desire for food. And
Heard that before. I've never experienced no desire for food ever in my life. I'd like to try that, but
I
yeah, I
I wish
have
I could
heard
get
that
back
it
to that.
happens.
I wish I could have that again.
I wish I
But
could try it. Yeah, I'd like to have that experience. At least, it would be great. Like maybe 2 or 3 months a year.
yeah, and I to feel what I felt then
Yeah.
again, you know. So I said, okay, I'll eat. I want you all to feel happy. And so I did. I ate and I just kind of gradually got back to normal life and normal me and all of my negativities and positivities and just normal me. And, over time, I did feel impelled to go and explore this stuff more in Nepal. But I think the purpose of it all was just to awaken me to the fact that there's more out there and that if I meditate a lot, I can have higher realm, a higher, like, more just lightness of being,
Experience. Yeah.
like a higher spiritual experience of life. And I can't say that I did that continuously. I did for a while, but then I just sort of slid back into stuff. And I had lots of problems and lots of negativity and also good stuff. But I was just kind of like a normal grounded life, I guess,
Yeah.
for a long time.
I was watching Ram Dass. I don't know if it was on Netflix or Amazon recently or Stars, I can't remember. A Ram Dass interview. Might have even been on YouTube. But for those who aren't familiar with Ram Dass was a spiritual seeker in the 70s. He started in the 70s with Timothy Leary and Terence McKenna. They call them psychonauts because they were experimenting with LSD and psychedelic mushrooms. And Ram Dass tells a story about how he goes to India and he finds a guru. And after that, there's no more psychedelics. Like that was over. And so he spent decades of his life uh, in this spiritual persona, and he was a very highly evolved individual. But what makes him he's very funny. His books are really very humorous. But he's also very, very real. And so in the interview, what he was saying is like, okay, God, like now what? What I did everything. I went and spent all this time with the guru, and I've done all your teachings and your talks, and I've given everybody the information. What now? And he heard his guidance say, and again, telepathically, heard his guidance say, why don't you try being human for a while?
I
So
love
yeah, so it's kind of like,
it.
we are here as divine spiritual beings, light beings, but we are here to play human at
I
times.
love that.
But
And that
it would be
plays really
nice
good
if we
with
all had like a little bit more of a blend of
Mhm.
that real knowingness of where we come from and who we really are.
Yeah, which is why we're having a talk like this to
That's right.
help others to validate that for them.
Yes, to validate. Yes.
Yeah. And, to have that blend, uh, I think it's an experience like that, and again, maybe the one in 2019, is a teaching experience for me personally, saying, like, you really should meditate more.
Hmm.
And I've been terrible about that, to be honest. Because when the divine beings, give you that experience, it's like, oh, great. Can you come back and do that again? That was really motivating. I was good at meditating for a little while, but then I fall off the wagon again and again. Well, it's only happened a couple of times, but that I've had these experiences. But then, yeah, eventually I do fall off the wagon with that. Like it, maybe each time I had about a year afterwards of intense meditation and spirituality, but then just kind of got back into life. So maybe that Ram Dass thing helps me feel a little bit better that I haven't been the best meditator. But if I wanted to raise my vibration more than it is, I would meditate more. That would be a good thing for all of us as the human race,
Yeah.
really.
Yeah.
You know,
I'm not perfect. I'm not a daily meditator. I wish I was. I think I might be doing it a little bit more almost daily at this point because like I said, I'm trying to move through some stuff. I feel like meditation is like going to the gym for your spirit and your soul. It really is. So like the
yeah.
more that you do it, the stronger of a presence you are in the world. And what I mean by that is the spiritual muscles that you have, the faith in yourself, the faith in God, the faith in the plan, it's there. And so when you encounter an energy that might kick you in the face, like just because life does that sometimes,
Yeah.
when you've got that strong spiritual current going, it's more like just like a gentle slap. And it's a much quicker recovery back into grace and well-being than
Mhm.
if, and this is just from my experience, if I haven't been meditating for a while, I might go into like a 3-day spin on something. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, it happens, and like whenever I feel myself getting into spin, I always know that something meditative is there to help, whether it's sit down formal meditation or doing some deep breathing work while I'm falling asleep or waking up in the morning or getting out in nature. You don't even have to just sit and meditate. Just get outdoors
Yeah.
and breathe
Tree.
the air and be out long enough or take a walk long enough to just sort of and not walking with I gotta lose weight, I gotta exercise, I gotta stay healthy, but more of like just an idle walk, like, oh, I'm gonna stop and look at this tree for a while and you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
enjoy the sun on my skin or the feel of the air.
It's a matter of being out in nature is just a really beautiful way to commune with spirit and to get perspective because it's I believe that we are all naturally in tune with because it's a part of us, like spirit, God source, life force, all of that. It's a part of us. It's not far away. God is not out there somewhere. It's here. It's all here. And so when we take our attention off of all of the technology and we place it back on like life force, like nature, earth, sky, birds, trees, we attune our consciousness back into that frequency of
Yeah.
life rather than the mental body working so hard to try to figure it out.
I love how you say that, how we attune ourselves back into the frequency of life. And even psychotherapy, modern psychotherapy has a lot to say about that, that so much of our trapped trauma or whatever it is that, each person has their baggage that they deal with, right? And a lot of previous systems for healing it or working with it were purely top down, brain based, like cognitive behavioral therapy, which is actually a good thing. You want to do both, though. You want to do bottom up because so much of it's trapped in the body, in the nervous system, which can react and respond to things without logic.
Right.
You can logically know, hey, I'm having this big reaction, which is out of proportion to things and it doesn't make sense, but the body responds to it anyway. And so the ways to work with that is to work with the body, to do meditation, to do yoga, to do something aerobic to get that energy out, or to go out in nature and reattune oneself and bring one's baseline back down to calm. Because, logically, that thing might not be happening anymore, but the body's still reacting. So we need to help the body. And we can't just do that through muscling through with our thoughts, saying, well, body, you have no right to be acting this way.
Yeah. No,
Doesn't
you
work.
can't muscle through. I mean, you
Or,
can, but it will damage. It will hurt.
yeah,
It
yeah.
will hurt worse. Yeah.
We'll create more
My
neurotic.
very first, well, I would say I think I've always felt I didn't actually realize that I was telepathic until recently when we started talking about these telepathy tapes. It's like, oh, I think I've always been a bit telepathic. Whereas I would literally hear my guides' voices even as a kid, and really, I didn't really think much of it. It was just a natural thing, yeah. But I remember being a teenager and very super dramatic emo kid, and I was skiing one day and I was at the top of this mountain and I was all by myself and I looked out over the valley and it was just mountains and mountains and beauty and beauty and beauty and sky and it was so beautiful. And I was in my heartbreak drama. I don't know, somebody didn't like me. And uh and it just like was like, wow, look at how big this is. And my guides were like, and look how small you are. And look how much smaller your problems are. Like when you put it in and your problems are even smaller than that. And it was just such a like, yeah, mind-blowing moment by myself on this mountain. But it was a message that endured.
That's beautiful. And I love that image of looking around at the mountains and just having that huge aha moment.
All right, wasn't that a wonderful gem of a conversation? I love having conversations like this. So, if you have stories to tell about your own spiritual awakening, the weird and wonderful things that are happening that are beyond your physical senses, we would love to hear about it. Help us share this information with the world so we can start to normalize our connection to the spiritual realm and our connection to our extrasensory perceptions so that we're no longer marginalizing these kinds of experiences and calling people crazy for having them. There's a much bigger world out there, a much bigger reality out there than the five senses can interpret. Also, if you're interested in exploring more of your own divine connection, your spiritual connection, and expanding your own spiritual gifts, we have a few communities that you might be interested in. So check out the link attached to this video and discover some ways that we can work together. We'd love to see you on the other side. That's all for now. 20 years ago, synchronicity led me to a course that profoundly changed my life. Awakening Your Light Body by Oren and Daban. This isn't just another ordinary meditation course. It is a carefully designed transformational system to expand your awareness, activate your energy bodies, and deepen your connection to your own higher guidance. Throughout my journey as a spiritual teacher, I have offered workshops, hands-on healing certifications, and courses all designed to expand our consciousness in different ways. But through all of these offerings, there is one that I return to time and time again. one that remains my favorite to teach because of the deep, undeniable transformation it creates within my students. Awakening your light body. I have spent decades developing my intuition, my ESP, my telepathic abilities, learning new healing modalities to support my clients' healing processes, and throughout all of my journeys, this course, Awakening Your Light Body, remains one of the most profound foundational tools for spiritual awakening that I have ever found. The truth is that your intuition, your extrasensory abilities, your connection to higher guidance has always existed within you. This is the course that gives you the keys to unlock them. Inside the Awakening Your Light Body course container, you will learn how to quiet your mind and receive clear intuitive guidance, strengthen your extrasensory and telepathic abilities, align with your highest path and purpose, activate your energy bodies for deeper awareness, and transmit light to your manifestations, your dreams, your future, so that you can live the life of your dreams like magic with ease. So if you are ready to drop the endless piecing together of bits of knowledge, the trial and error of the do-it-yourself spiritual path, and instead step into a proven, guided path of lasting transformation, I invite you to join me. Trust your intuition. It has led you here for a reason. Click the link below to learn more and begin your journey of awakening your light body. I'll see you inside.